It was so like full of despair yet so hopeful and sound. Like what he's saying is like we're fucked basically, right?
Yeah,
and he's like we can't do anything about it. But it's so like the instrumental part of it makes you feel like we can do something about it, and it's.
The guitar solo, it sounds especially hopeful. I agree. It's like
that made me almost cry, man.
It's like an optimistic pessimism almost.
Yeah, which I feel like is what everybody's kind of thing is right now. It's like
that's what I get from the lyrics is basically like we're never gonna come together until things are beyond repair. Yeah. And it really is such a sentiment that feels so universal right now. Like the first time I listened to it too, I was like, that left me feeling heavy. Like based on the other stuff that he's released, that was not what I was expecting.
It's just interesting how like all these themes, especially this year, it seems all these themes have kind of like coalesced into like we're kind of fucked and we can't really do anything about it. So like because you think of like Full Blown Meltdown's album, that song Ultra Deluxe does what my next album is about, is all just about how this is it and we're pretty much fucked if we don't do anything about it, and if we're probably not going to do anything about it because
it costs too much money.
It costs too much money, and it's too much. People don't want to do it. I mean, people, they want to end capitalism, but then, it's not. It's going to take a lot, and it's not going to.
This song particularly, man, like easily his best production of anything. Like it feels so like the first time you listen to it, you feel like you've heard it a million times.
Yeah,
but it also sounds fresh, right?
Oh, I feel like a lot of that. What's that instrument where he used it? Where it's like.
The pedal steel?
Yeah, pedal steel. I feel like pedal steel in general has that feeling about it where you're like, oh, I remember this. It just has like that nostalgia. It's like a nostalgia trigger for me where it's just like,
It does just kind of have that sound inherently to it. I agree.
I don't connect it to any other song from like my childhood or anything. It's just, it has that sound of like, it's like someone sighing like a sigh of relief, Mm-hmm. Like that's what it feels like to me. It's just like, okay, this is going to be a song.
Things might be okay.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, and I don't know. I like that kind of thing when people do that, where it's like another example, not anywhere as good as that, but like "Not Today" by 21 Pilots. You ever listen to that song? It's real like upbeat.
I've definitely heard it.
Heard you say?
Oh
Not
yeah.
Yeah, but like the whole song is about just like wanting to die, and it's so like. Up, and I love that, and I just feel like that was a similar way, but not as like energetic, more so like soothing,
Yeah, hopeful. I feel like for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, recently it's just been that's all I can think about is just like especially with what's going on in Palestine and all that stuff. It's just hard to find something to grasp onto that makes you feel like not like a impending doom is going to happen at all times.
Yeah,
and that song
finding things that are like oddly beautiful in like the chaos. Yeah,
and that song gave me a brief moment where I could be like, oh, this is all I needed. And when that piano came in from the right side, it scared me. In a good way.
No, it's set so perfectly in space. That actually transitions me to wanting to like talk about the production a bit more, because it really does feel like everything is right where it needs to be spatially. There's a lot of like really nice like ambiance with like some pads, and there's a really nice delay on his voice too that popped out to me listening to it in headphones as opposed to speakers that I really liked as well.
Yeah, it was that's a great song.
I think it's kind of amusing. He released a song the beginning of this year, and I read an interview that he did with Only the Host. There was a song that he released at the beginning of the year that I thought was kind of amusing. It's the like chiptune one that I was talking about. It's called the WHMIS Monster, which is apparently Canada's Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System, and that was a song that he wrote because for his day job, he had to administer these tests, and he wrote the melody based on what the answers were to this like multiple choice like test, and then like developed a rhythm for it. So I think that's really fun too. Just like taking inspiration from like the most mundane things and trying to turn them into music, I think is really fun.
Yeah, and I mean, like we said earlier, I mean, anything can be music, and you can find music in anything, and I love when people purposely bring that out of like, oh, this is a song. song made with non-instruments. I think that's cool.
I also really like just even if it's not something that necessarily translates into what you hear in the song, but translates into like your process, right? You know, just the idea of like, oh yeah, I'm just going to take these answers from this test and use it to create a melody or whatever. Like just like prompts and stuff like that too. My song Driftin' was based completely off of a one-word songwriting. It was a write a song in a month challenge, and the prompt was just the word drift. And there's something about having such a tight scope on what you're allowed to write about that you're able to just kind of like zone in on it, right? Like I wrote all of the lyrics to that song in an afternoon, and I never write lyrics that fast. There's just something about like giving yourself these prompts and just running with it, you know.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like it just kind of helps center you a little bit, or like focus you a little bit.
Yeah,
because I mean, I know I have, especially with lyrics, like I can't really write lyrics beforehand because then I get stuck with that melody that I made in my head. You know what I mean? With when I was writing the lyrics, which might not necessarily go with what I'm trying to do with it. So I've kind of just found like using the way that I title songs of like feeling, like just like the feeling and like kind of just winging it. It's just, I don't know, it's just easier for me. I don't know, coming up with multiple melodies that like go on each other is really hard for me for some reason. Unless it's like a bass line and like a rhythm and lead I can do. But like once you add like I don't know, I can't ever figure out how it's supposed to hit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I come up with that same sort of thing where you're like, oh yeah, instrumentally I've got like this riff and I've got this little like guitar melody and I've got this bass part, and then you're like, what can I do over top of it that's not gonna like detract from everything that I've already got?
Yeah, because what my brain wants to do is just match the lyrics with the lead melody.
I do that all the time, and I'm like, no, that's gonna sound cheesy if you do it.
I know,
that way.
I don't want to do it.
But yeah, no, I totally get where you're coming from with that. I struggle with that all the time. I've found that a lot of the time my best work vocally is when I write something and then write the instrumental around it. But my ideas, my musical ideas come so much more often in riff form than they do in melody form. So what do we have up next? Our next tune?
This next song, hold on, I gotta get it pulled up. It's from a band, I think it's a band, called Love Supreme. They are also out of France. I found them on the, like, You May Also Like section of Woodkid.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And this is a slower one as well. It's called Beauty, and it goes like this.